is an emotional experience. We check out the last line there on my bullet points. Buying a home is an emotional experience, but you have to kind of set your emotion aside for when you're shopping for homes and kind of put on your business kind of logical thinking hat before you even get to that point. So the biggest thing when it comes to buying, and especially now, if we're going to be entering a housing market that is going to be flooded in the coming weeks here with new buyers and sellers re-entering this market, you have to be proactive and you have to be ready. And what I mean by being proactive is getting in touch with a good lender. Many people tend to default to your bank or your local credit union, but that may not be the best option when it comes to a mortgage, because there are a lot of differences. And I'll be the first one to tell you that not all lenders are created equal. Being in this business and seeing firsthand, I've got a very good understanding, I feel like, of which lenders are good, which lenders are okay, and which are some that I'm just like, no, we cannot go down that path. I want to make sure that your experience buying a house, and this is coming from just me as Kellen Keck agent here, I want to make sure that experience for you is as good as it possibly can be. And if I don't feel confident with the lender that you've chosen, I can't guarantee that that's going to be a good experience. So if you connect with me, connect with a real estate agent, they're going to have some agents or some loan officers in their network that they know and they trust. And that would be a really good source of information, is connect with them first. Connect with me. Let me help you get in touch with the person that's going to best fit your situation. Depending on what we got to do, we can definitely get you connected with the right one, because there's a lot of differences. I mean, you can see the chart there on the right-hand side, of what some of these differences are. Fannie and Freddie, VA, USDA, FHA, jumbo. What are the differences in 30-year and 15-year? Is anybody doing adjustable rate mortgages anymore? There is a lot of information here, and you have to make sure that you're connected with the right one before you go jumping into it, because it can really throw things off down the road. And some of them are really good up front, some lenders are, but once you get into that pending process, things tend to change. So really want to make sure we're connecting with the right person to get you where you want to be. So the next thing with that is the pre-qualification versus pre-approval thing. There's a big misconception is well, I talked to my bank, they said I was pre-qualified. Yeah, but a pre-qualification doesn't mean that you're approved. There's two different things. So pre-qualification typically is just you picking up the phone, calling a lender and saying, hey, here's my income. I pay about this much in debt, and my credit score is probably about this. Okay, cool. I'm pre-qualified. Not much substance there. A pre-qualification just means that a lender is basically taking the information that you've given them over the phone, plugged it into their system, and you fit within the parameters based off of the information that you've given. Now, they really probably haven't gone through and actually verified any of that information. And then there's a pre-approval. So a pre-approval is taking everything into the next step. So this means that the loan officer has typically pulled your credit. He has physically verified all of your financials via your pay stubs, W-2s, tax transcripts if they need it, copies of your debts and things like that, showing what that is. And then they've actually gone through and actually looked at the hard numbers and said, okay, you are going to be pre-approved up to this amount. So they've looked at the documents, they physically verified this, they've pulled your credit score, they've gone and actually taken everything and plugged it through their system to ensure that you are truly pre-approved. Now, that doesn't mean that you are approved. It just means that as it sits right now, you would be pre-approved, based on getting everything else into the lender. So, and there's a lot of stuff that goes along with it, getting all of your documentation and getting all of your financial information, and it is pretty invasive. They're going to be asking you questions about investment accounts, taxes, things like that for the last number of years. So you got to be ready to be able to produce that information for them. So interest rates, that's kind of the next thing. So interest rates have been really all over the board here as of the last few weeks. Once all this hit, there was a lot of uncertainty. Interest rates really just kind of started going up and down. We had the bottom of the bottom, just a few weeks before this whole thing hit. And there was, kind of what lenders are referring to as the refi boom, because everybody and their brother was refining out of their existing mortgages, trying to get into something with a lower interest rate. They did go back up. They have spiked a little bit. They have kind of fluctuated, but you know, the general consensus in talking with a lot of realists or a lot of loan officers here in the last few weeks is that interest rates are going to come back down. You know, the line of thinking with that is that, you know, as the economy needs to recover, you know, home ownership, home buying, real estate, those are all things that are really key drivers of the American economy. So the feds are going to really probably want to push that as much as they can to try and help build things back up. So when you're buying a home, what is the process? You know, well, right now it looks a lot different than what it has in the past and what it will, you know, once we get back to, you know, some sense of normalcy here. You know, but the process is, you know, getting connected with an agent, getting you connected with a lender, getting you pre-approved, figuring out where our budget is, setting a timeline and a game plan. I mean, we do want to plan for this. This isn't just, you know, hey, there's a cool house, let's go check it out. We want to be methodical about how we approach it. We want to make sure that we understand the timelines that are going to be in place. I mean, do you have to be out of a rental or do you have to be out of another house in time? What are we looking at here that we have to kind of make sure that we're abiding by? So for right now, we have been doing a lot of virtual stuff as far as like video tours, things like that, because I can't really show anybody a house physically in person. But what I can do is if a seller has got a video tour available, we can kind of view the house that way. I've even set up some Zoom meetings with myself, my clients, the listing agent, and the buyer, or the listing agent and the seller. And then basically what we do is we kind of do a live virtual showing where, you know, we can kind of ask the seller, hey, take us into the kitchen, take us into the living room. You know, what's that there on the wall? What's the basement look like? Hey, what's that closet look like? You know, can kind of see the house without being in the house. And it still gives my clients a, you know, real good understanding of kind of what they're up against and what they could be looking at in regards to all that. So next thing is inspections, appraisal, things like that. So inspectors and appraisers are considered essential critical infrastructure right now. So those are still continuing just as they would. Now, the only downside to that is we got to be really cautious because during an inspection period, as it sits right now, technically, you're really not supposed to be with the home inspector. The buyer is not. It should just be the home inspector in there. It should just be the appraiser in there. Well and septic inspections can still proceed as normal. So as with an inspection, you're still going to get the report. You're still going to get it back. We're still going to have an opportunity to review it and then request any repairs or changes, you know, to the home or to the terms of the contract, the purchase contract, that we see fit based on that, you know, and it becomes a negotiation point. You know, we may say, hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, we want this, 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 and this taken care of, you know, from inspections. They may come back to us and say, well, we'll take care of this, this, and this, but we don't feel that that is something that we should really be concerned about. So, and there's sometimes a little back and forth, but my goal in all of this is to try and keep everybody on pace. If you look at the next line down there, average of 27 people involved in a real estate transaction. And you're talking everything from inspectors, appraisers, underwriters, loan processors, mortgage loan officers, everything that goes along with that is there's typically 27 people that can get involved with that from time to time. So my goal is to try and keep everything running as smoothly as possible and try and provide that experience. Because again, buying a home is an experience, and I want to make sure that that's a positive experience as much as I can. Trying to be proactive and trying to mitigate where issues and challenges may come from, but at the same time, being able to be reactive quickly to those so we can take care of anything that might come up relatively quickly. So there's always things. Every real estate transaction is different, and it's always going to be different for every person because every situation is different. But you know, I try and mold kind of how I do things to fit each individual client's personality, fit their goals, fit their unique situation in life. So just lots of things to consider when you're talking about buying a house. So this right here, I threw this in here because this was kind of a neat, just kind of overview. So, you know, working on your down payment, not many people realize that you don't have to have 20% down in order to buy a house. That's a big misconception. Actually, the national average right now is about 9%. There's zero down programs. There's 1% down programs through MISHDA, 3% conventional, 3.5% FHA. There's a lot of programs out there. And basically what I tell folks is if you can afford to rent, you can afford to buy. You know, there's a lot of options out there for you. So know your credit score, find a great real estate agent, get pre-approved, and then go shopping. making an offer, home inspection, appraisal, closing of the sale, and then boom, congratulations, you're a homeowner. I mean, this is a very generalized overview here of what that process looks like. And there's a lot of moving parts to buying a home. So again, finding the right folks to help you through that process is going to be beneficial for you, and it's going to help create that positive experience that we all kind of strive for. So